Hey, what's up, guys? This is T-Bone here. Hopefully, you guys are all having a good evening, or a good morning, or a good afternoon, wherever you are. And so, what I wanted to do in today's episode is talk about the upcoming event, which is the Fire Commander event. And there are a couple of changes to this event as normal. And what I want to do is to talk about the cards themselves in the first 5 minutes or so. I There are some really interesting mechanics that have been introduced to this deck, which I think many of you, including myself, probably are still trying to figure out. So we'll talk about that. And I would also like to introduce you to a special guest that is here with me today. His name is you know him as Spicer. He's one of the content creators for Network. And so, Christian, would you like to say something to the audience here?
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me, T-Bone. Sorry, I'm in a cage eating ice cream I was given just for this special occasion. So, I apologize if I'm dinging around here in my metal box that I'm kept in and enjoying my ice cream. But I'm very happy to be here and to interact with real people for a moment because usually I'm in isolation and not allowed to talk or engage with anybody.
So yes, I thought that it would be a good opportunity to get you to talk to some people and at least hear a voice other than your own for a little bit. So for the people who are watching who may not know who you are, Spicer, maybe you want to take a minute and talk about sort of your role as a content provider with the network team.
Yeah, sure. And so I should say, I don't work for the legendary Game of Heroes. Things I say do not reflect those views of the game team. Things I used to say in Dogen's Advocate videos in the network app, if you have it or seen it. All of those are still true. So don't, you know, use this to be like, well, Spicer said XYZ. That's just my personal feelings. But yeah, I work with a great group of people in Los Angeles, writing and creating content around the community of Legendary Game of Heroes, a game that I've been playing, a little over 2 years, I think, at a much lower level than you play it, but I cover it at a much higher level. I've been covering video games for a very long time professionally, and I write for TV and some premium video on demand services, kind of, like your Netflixes and Hulus and stuff like that. And I'm also a stand-up comedian, and that's kind of all of that perfect storm, with my passion for Legendary and then kind of creating content around it and writing and stuff like that. It seemed like a really good fit. And I think for me personally, people that know me, I say this a lot, but my favorite part is the community. So to be able to be a part of that is really cool. It's awesome, and it's very humbling to be a part of, in my opinion, one of the very best things about the game. It's like Morte Thronos and the community, and it's neck and neck. Which one's better,
All right. So cool. So just before we get in, I'm just gonna take a second and address the numerous people that have already joined us here in the chat. I can see that we have over 55 viewers here, so that's really cool. And so just kind of listing down here real quick, I'm saying hi to Duppy, Almic, Michael, Lido, King Biggie, Kate Clown, John Wilson, Tame Beast, and we also have MWP, and obviously we've got Christian in the chat here. Johnny Tables, Rev, Joshua, Davis, Alpha, Ben Rutherford, Naya, and Ethan Sayer. Gary Castle, Sandra, Catherine, MTM is in the house. And we got the Pondering Pigeon as well as Aria and Pedro. Shalian is here with us as well. So welcome, everybody. And so let's get into this right here. And I know that there's some questions specific for me. And there's a request for me to talk about some of the top 3 things as a player that I think I would like to see fixed by the Legendary team. There's definitely, I would say there's more than 3 things I would like to see change and fix, and I'll definitely go into that as well. But first, let's talk about the cards because I've spent some time looking at the cards and I'm still reading the cards right now because I'm still trying to decide how I feel about it. And I guess I'll start by saying that my first impressions of this particular deck is that I'm not sure if I like it. I don't know if it's going to be as good as I hope it would be. So let's take a look at this, right? So this is the Master Collection card, Princess Riverine and Stonetail. I will say that the artwork is really nice. I really like the way it's drawn. But if we take a look at the battle skill, this is really what it's about, right? So So this card will create 2 power gem 4s, and that's sort of normal. But then it adds this thing called budding polarity for 3 turns, and this is really where it gets really weird because we've never had this concept where something starts as negative and then it flips to positive. It's basically like a little magnet. It has like the negative and the positive side, or I should say the south and the north side. But the way that works is when the polarity is in a negative state, both you and the enemies will reduce damage taken by 10%. So that happens for 3 turns. And then after that, then it flips to positive. You're going to create 2 firepower gems there, so you get some free gem creation. And then the damage taken by heroes now is increased by 10%. So my personal feeling about this is that it doesn't seem to be very strong as a battle skill because it only creates 2 power gem 4s compared to some of the other Master Collection heroes we've seen. Like when they've only created 2, for example, they are for example, the Bio Blitzer only creates 2 Power Gen 4s, but it's followed by a really strong nuke. And this one, it's kind of like a double-edged sword to me. So the idea that your card sort of helps both you and the enemy isn't something that I feel is necessary. Like I liked things that are double-edged sword when it's overpowered. Like if it's an overpowered card, you balance it by giving something that makes it a little bit more of a risk to use. But this isn't this is not an overpowered card. Like the skill by itself isn't that great. So adding this to the mix just kind of makes it feel weird. And then the event card is a weaker version of the Master Collection card. So Bosco the Flame Wielder. And what this does is now you sort of see the actual icon for it. The battle skill is called Flash Cry. And it does pretty much the same thing, except instead of Power Gen 4s, it's Power Gen 1. And it reduces the damage decrease by 5%, and then it flips it to positive at 5% as well. The key thing to note here also is that it has a 4-turn cooldown. I say this is something to keep in mind because it's different than the support card as well as the ultra rare card. And so again, the questions I have here are whether or not this actually stacks. So if you have multiple copies of the Master Collection card or the event card and you activate all of their skills, is it going to stack, or is it going to be more like the Grail concept that we saw before, where you can only add to it, you can't really magnify the effect of it? Because if you can stack it, then that really means that if you have the Master Collection card and the event card, then now suddenly your enemies reduce their damage taken by 15%. While it helps you, with your survivability, it also means that your boss is going to take less damage, and this sucks for overkill. So that means if you activated your battle skills, suddenly your boss takes less damage. And if you're trying to get that 500% overkill at like the ultra kill boss, that 15% or 10% sometimes could mean the difference between getting it and not getting it. So that is, to me, the double-edged sword part that I'm not sure I like. Given that the card itself isn't really strong, I kind of feel like I still really need to sort of see what that's about. And so those are that's sort of my take on the Master Collection card and the event card. Now, what I'm going to do is talk about the ultra rare card. Now, these are the 2 cards that the ultra rare card and the support card will benefit from the Master Collection card and the event card here. And so Lagomorphic Queen. And these are ancient cards, by the way. So if you're stuck in some levels that require Fire Ancient, this is going to be the deck, or even just the support card is going to help you go through the Spire. And so battle skill is called Gloria Spring, and it creates 3 Firepower Gem 2s, and then it will heal for 2000% of heal recovery. Now, if Budding Polarity is positive, then the number of gems that you create will actually double. So that means if you activate it when the polarity is positive, then you're actually going to get 6 Firepower Gem 2s. Any other time when the polarity is on, when it's negative, in other words, you're going to heal for 4000% instead. So again, this to me is kind of interesting because when your polarity is negative, you're actually getting reduced damage. So you don't really need to double the heal. You really need to double the heal when you're taking extra damage. And so to me, it just kind of feels a little, to me personally anyways, it just feels like it's not tweaked the way I would have liked to see. But again, without having the cards to play with, I don't really know what to expect there. And then finally, the support card here, Huntress Legata. So this is a 5-star, stats, and this creates just regular gems. So this is the weaker version of the ultra rare card, and it'll create 3 fire gems, and then it'll heal for 1,000%. Same thing, if it's positive, it'll double the gems, so then it'll create 6 fire gems, and the negative, when the polarity is negative, it will double the amount heal. So keep in mind that it's going to be negative for 3 turns, and it'll only be positive for 1 turn, the polarity. So it's total for 4 turns. Polarity will only be positive for 1 turn, so there's only 1 shot to double your number of gems. And these cards have 3 turn cooldowns, so you have to really sort of keep in mind, like that probably will help, actually, if you think about it in terms of the timing. So I'll spend some time when the event starts, and then I will take a look and see if I can come up with an idea for how we could actually make it work. And then if we take a look at the the collection cards, so we got Thula, which has been around as a collection card for a while, so not anything too exciting. I'm not really that's whatever. But the Soul Thresher, which was a Slayer card for the Halloween Fennec event, it is now a card that is also for Commander, and it's possible as a collection card. So this is a great card to get. And again, Crimson Vengeance is the other card that is an ultra rare card that will also create power gems based on the number of gems on the board. At 6 stars, it will create 1 firepower gem 1 for every 5 fire gems on the board. So these are 2 really good cards to get in general. And now I see that Christian is engaged in the chat as well, so that's great to see. I'm just gonna take a quick look and see if there's anything that I might be missing in terms of questions or anything like that. So what are your thoughts? Like, I gave sort of my thoughts on what I think the cards would be like. So generally, like, my feeling about this deck is that I'm not sure that I feel that I'm not sure how I feel about the deck, really. Like, it could be a surprise, like it could be a really, really strong deck. I just don't know. But by itself, the whole thing doesn't generate a lot of power gems. So if you think about it, Stonetech, so I'm not going to take a look at Stonetech Matriarch. So Stonetech Matriarch is the ultimate form, and the thing is, this is a 15 times bonus. So it increased by 2 compared to the regular 13. It is now 15 times. But because it's Commander, it's going to apply to the entire team. So now this is a combination of the 2 cards now. So when you activate a battle skill, it's going to create 2 firepower gem 4s. And it's going to basically activate the budding polarity, and then it's going to create the power gem 4s on turn 4. So this is the part of the MC. But what it's and then I guess the other thing is the passive is when you get struck by. Okay, let me start this again because I'm not sure if I'm doing this justice. So basically, it's doing both here. Where is it doing both? Where's the heal? So the ultra rare card is supposed to do heal and also create gems. And all I see here is it will create 2 power gem 4s. And then it will increase the self attack by 20%. I don't think I see anything from the ultra rare, actually. There's no heal for the ultimate form here. So it really is just using the budding polarity. The only difference is it has the passive where when the polarity is negative and you're hit, it will increase the attack by 20%. So that kind of sort of compensates for the decrease of damage taken by the enemy. And so anyway, so that's the ultimate form card there. And so again, if you take a look, it's not a whole lot of power gems on the board that you're going to get from the team. And so you're still going to need the Soul Thresher. You're going to have this card in the deck, and you're going to be needing to use multiple turns. And I believe that the Raw card, so what is going to be in the starter pack, I believe is this deck. And so you will have a chance to get Raw in the deck as well. So this is another option as well. All right, so spoke a lot at length here about the cards and my thoughts about it, and we also sort of talked about the collection cards. And I think, let's see if there's any questions. So I think I saw a question here. from Joshua Davis, how will it work when you have multiples? Yeah, so that's the question I have, is whether or not it is going to stack. And if it stacks, then you're going to, basically receive less damage and deal more damage. But at the same time, the same thing is going to happen with your enemies as well. So it is one of those interesting cases. So without testing it in real scenarios, it's really hard to say. All right, so coming back to our guest here, so Spicer, I know that one of the things that we talked about is that you played the game at a sort of, more relaxed level. You kind of just play for fun and you enjoy it. And so I'm going to open runes while we ask here. So I guess my question is, how have you enjoyed yourself so far? And you've talked about Morte Thronos as your favorite card. That's from Generation 2. Anything from the recent 3.0 release that you've enjoyed, either for the artwork or the stories or whatever, what have you?
So I really enjoy the art for this event. I think we talked about it on daily. What day is it today? I don't know what days are anymore. Today's Wednesday, Tuesday. Today's Tuesday. I think it was Monday's daily. Jeff talked about it, and I really like the artwork. I feel like last year's air quote Easter event had some really cool bunnies. And I think this year's, and just in terms of the visual style, I really, really like them. I'm also a sucker for, and I know the deck had problems. I get it. Like nukes in a Slayer event. I understand. I understand players weren't thrilled with the Hellboy event deck, but I love comic books and I love Hellboy, me personally, and I loved the art of those Hellboy cards. I thought every version of Hellboy, including the starter pack BPRD version, was just awesome. I loved them. In terms of lore, I really think Camelot was cool. It felt like I don't want to say return to what would it be, 1.0, like pre-intensity, which is kind of when I got into the game, way back when 2 years ago. But it felt like I was playing with Keta and Ray and Dogen. Like it felt like they could have been right alongside at the very beginning as Corellis was expanding. And I really liked the art. I liked that it felt like high fantasy again. Don't get me wrong, I like little pigs and the big bad wolf flying on airships. I think that's cute and fun and all, and Fennecs are always a good laugh. But to me, the reason why I like someone like Morte Thronos is my favorite is just like epic in terms of how he looks and visually. So I think Camelot was really cool. Those cards had a lot of weight and presence to them, and I think they played pretty well. I did not play with many of them myself, just because of RNG gods or whatever you want to say. But like talking about how players were using them, I think they're interesting.
Right.
And then like you talked about this week's deck, I think it's fascinating what polarity can do. I'm hopeful that it's something that keeps being built on and expanded upon, because I think there's something fascinating, like how you talked about, where if you're able to like give and take. And so I think if you're able to have this massive power, but then it has a downside to it. Oh, there's Morty. Oh, so good. If you have this massive power, but then there's a negative side effect, I think there's really potential for cool deck building where, okay, now you're taking bigger damage. So how are you going to compensate that with someone that can provide healing for you? So it makes it worth it to switch it to positive, to go for this big hit because someone else's, buff is going to carry the day and save you. I like the potential for it, but not even 1 week in yet. I think it's too early to judge, but I think it's fascinating and something that I find more interesting than just push this, my board becomes all yellow and I win, that feels good in the moment, but I kind of like trying to think through it a little bit more.
Okay. Well, thanks for that. So I definitely agree with the sentiment. So I think what you're saying here is, hey, the event hasn't started yet. This sounds like a really cool idea. And I absolutely agree here. Like, I generally try not to thrash too much on the decks themselves if I don't like it, just because I don't want to discourage, new ideas. But I think constructive feedback on the idea is sound, but I think we really need to tweak it in different ways. I think that's how we can help the team make it better as well. I definitely feel that there were some things that were really interesting. So for me personally, I really enjoyed the Grail mechanic just because it a couple of things. One, the grail mechanic is what really allowed people who are free to play to sort of be able to compete, in the same playground. But at the same time, it wasn't, as you said, hit a couple of buttons and everything is, all ready to go. And, it really was more about the timing. You have to really figure out how things work, and sort of, you have to get them to align. You have to put in the right cards in there. I lost a card for a second. So like this card, right? And so I definitely agree there. Something that gives a little bit more of an interesting mechanic is definitely something that I enjoyed immensely. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that like that as well. So thanks for the input there. All right, so there was a question there about whether or not Soul Thresher stacks with another. It does. So any card that generates power gems on its own will actually, in fact, stack. So if you have multiple copies of Fire Thresher, they do use intensity. And so let's go ahead and actually show you this right now. So it's actually a special card. And so Soul Thresher, which I have, if you have multiple copies of these, it does use special intensity. So if you can get up to 350, you'll be able to fill the board with Power Gem 1s. And then the second one that you add on will then convert all of that to Power Gem 2 and so forth. And so it is definitely a good card. And while I'm here, did you guys notice that we have now 5 new team slots? Yay! So we have now a total of 15 slots so that we can finally have more teams ready to use when we switch between bosses. So that is something that just got added as part of this event. And so what I wanted to do is also talk about a little bit about the update for the, coming in the newsfeed. And so this is going to be a VIP event. So we already saw that. And there's a couple things that I wanted to address. The first one is there is a guaranteed Master Collection card that you can get if you go to tier 6. And there is a question there about whether or not this will come with a soul. Because the mechanic for creating the ultimate form now is using a Master Collection card soul as well as the ultra rare soul. But people have reported that, hey, I only got the card, not the soul itself. Am I going to have to sacrifice this now? So I'll just give you a heads up right now. I believe they're going to fix this so that by the time the event starts, they are going to be giving souls at this tier. And if you've already gotten the Master Collection card tier 6, I believe that you will be receiving the soul as well. So that's just something that I wanted to give a heads up on. And but I hope they do. And if it just kind of, I'll make sure to provide an update in the comment here, and if they see anything. But keep an eye out on the news feed or in the announcements. I think that they're going to announce that as well, because that is the mechanic that they're going now with the Master Collection card and the ultra rare. So this makes sense. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is they also have a pack, so you don't see it in mine now. Spicer, I'm not sure if you've had a chance to take a look since the event has started, but in the store now, some people actually get a starter pack. So I don't see it on mine, but do you see it?
I'm not gonna. This is how you're trying to tell me to talk about the account I actually play on, it's not going to work. T-Bone, nice try. I had someone in my guild, and she was like, "Hey, are you?" And I was like, anyway, so I think people are putting pieces together.
No,
but
I actually wasn't trying to do that. I'm not trying to be sneaky. I'm trying to say that there is a.
I have seen them.
Okay.
Let me put it that way. Not whether it was my account or not. And I'll say it wasn't the one I play on.
Okay.
But I have seen it in the office. We have an account we play on. Just bounce it around on like a nobody's phone kind of thing, like an office phone. And I have seen them pop up in there. Just the first one, pack 1. The oh gosh, who's in it? Had you not asked me, I'd know it right off the top of my head.
That's okay. I think it either has Stellar Rabbit or Lepora, and I think I definitely want to make sure that you don't feel like I'm trying to trap you or anything like that. I asked the question because
I'm already trapped. I'm in a cage, T-Bone. You can't trap me any more than I am.
All right.
Yeah, starter pack 1. And it's Stellar Rabbit 4, I believe.
Okay.
4-star.
So not everybody gets it. And I think that's the thing I wanted to clarify here. This was announced as a test run so that some people will see the pack and not everybody will. So I, for example, don't have this pack, but I heard about it. And so what I did is I actually went back to my codex and I bought this card back using dust. So at 3 stars, it does cost about 550 pink dust to purchase. And so what I wanted to show here is
You
the
throwing
evolution
that
of the
pink
card.
dust around like it's nobody's business. That's you
Oh,
gotta.
yeah.
Does your audience know what you're doing for them? Just using pink dust to go get cards back again? You got to hold on to that, T-Bone. Pink
I
dust.
I saved my pink dust like there's no tomorrow. I this has been like sitting in this amount for the longest time because of how scarce it really is. But yeah, I don't tell people to spend their pink dust because you can't get their hands on them much anymore.
Yeah,
But
everybody jump in the comments and thank T-Bone on spending his pink dust to pull this card
yes,
for you guys to look at it. Because
I do this for everybody, right? So
yeah.
I'm doing this for them, not for myself, not because I'm interested, but I wanted to show you how you can reforge. So what's different between this card now and previous cards that you could reforge is that previously you can only reforge when it was at 6 stars, and now what you can do is you can evolve the card. You can actually reforge the card at an earlier level as long as you have the items, and you can get these both of these charms and also the stone in the store. So this stone, for example, costs 28 daily dungeon coins, and so I purchased one, the Fire Reforged Stone, and you can also get the charm, which is in the Gear dungeon. So these are the 2 locations that you can get, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you what the Reforged Lepora looks like. So it has the 3 Power Gem ones that you can create, and it does have a 5-turn cooldown. I don't know if it changes when you level up, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and reforge. And so let's take a second here and see any other questions, any comments in here. And like what's nice here is also now if you dust this card, you will also have a the special Fire Commander Generation 3 dust. So now that when you dust this, if you sell, you'll see that it's no longer pink dust. So that's something that I wanted to sort of show you here. And then if you go through the evolution, so this one just requires essence, so it doesn't actually require any special catalyst or anything like that, and so we can go ahead and evolve her, and we can sort of see through the evolution what the battle skill looks like. So it continues to remain the same. So this is very much just like when we bought Hellboy. Throughout all the evolutions, the battle skill is exactly the same. So you're creating 3 Firepower Gem once. It has a 9 gem charge rate and 5 turn cooldown. The only difference is it's going to get stronger over time. And so let's go ahead and evolve again. Now it requires a Fire Gem, Fire Essence 5. And I would assume the next one is going to be a Fire Essence 6, which I have one of already. So let's go ahead and go up to level 6 stars. Now, what's interesting is Essence isn't free either. It's not exactly a free currency that people just have laying around. I save these things like there's no tomorrow, and I go through the daily dungeons every single day. I keep up with the dungeon, so make sure you go and hit the dungeon. This is where you earn the cattle. This is where you can earn your essence as well, and also where you can get your dungeon coins. So I go through this on a daily basis, so I save up, and also I get them from the events as well. So that's how I was able to get them. So now we have a 6-star Reforged Lepora, which is so much better than the previous card. Before Reforged. So I really like this. The other card that you can reforge are also Flamefoot O'Hare. So you can reforge this as well. We can take a look at the cards. So the Reforged hero here will attack an enemy for 5,000 attack, and you can become invulnerable for 1 turn. So if you're looking for that one card that gives you invulnerability, this card now does it, but it has a 5-turn cooldown, so it doesn't replace the invulnerability card that you can get, like the 4-star creature card, but it is an option. Although compare that to its the current form, which is a nuke it's a nuke damage dealer for every 5 stacks of technological intensity. So pick your poison. I mean, like, this card will be good in a lot of situations if you are using him for a nuke damage, or if you want him to be just in general more powerful, you're looking for a Fire Commander sort of Generation 3 type stats, then you can reforge that. The other one is Stellar Rabbit. You can also reforge Stellar Rabbit. You do require this tome though, and the Tome of Reforge is the one that is really hard to get. You have to be able to get the overkill, 500% overkill in the ultra kill bosses, and it's a very rare drop. So to me, this is a very scarce item that I wouldn't want to just spend on. And if you take a look at Reforged Stellar Rabbit, what it does, it creates 8 fire gems. It's worse than the Lepora in that regard. Like this creates gems and it doesn't create power gems. So if I were you, my recommendation is we can look at it, but don't waste your Stellar Rabbit for the Reforged, because the Stellar Rabbit gives you it's the same thing as the Soul Thresher. You can also create power gems, and you can create up to 35 power gem ones with a single Stellar Rabbit. So I would not reforge this card at all. Definitely not recommended. But if you have one or multiple copies of Reforged Lepora, please go and reforge that. So that's my recommendation for the cards. And I think these are all the changes. I'm going to take a look and see if there's anything that I might have missed. Is there anything that you might want to add there, Spicer?
No, I really like the idea of Reforged Heroes. I think you and a lot of the other community members do a great job kind of highlighting when it's worth its hard, right? Because everybody's at a different point in the game with their decks, and you might be looking for something specific that trade-off does seem worth it to you. Mm-hmm. But I find them fascinating, because the way I look at, a lot of games and coming from, old school D&D even, or something like that, it's like, oh, I'm spending a resource on something. This is going to be unequivocally across the board better in every which way, shape, and form. And I found that, as you highlighted, Reforged Heroes aren't always necessarily that, in terms of like, it's not just now every stat is this plus 10 or whatever. And I think it's fascinating, the kind of trade-offs in the decks that you can build around them, and then deciding whether or not it is worth it to you individually as a player. Every time new Reforged come out, I try to wrap my head around them and think, what's the best use case scenario for this character and these resources, and how does this fit into the game in the best way possible? And then who are the players that, like you said, for some, definitely don't do it. I think it's really, really fascinating.
Yeah. And actually, the Pondering Pigeon reminded me that you can also reforge the relic. So right now, what I'm showing here is that this was the original relic, the Plasma Spear, which I have one of, and you could actually reforge. So if we take a look at the reforged Plasma Spear, this will create 1 fire gem per fire commander hero at the beginning of battle. It will boost all fire commander heroes, but what you lose is the ability to create power gems. So there's the trade-off here. So the trade-off is I think the power increase here is higher. So if you take a look at the power is, so the trade-off here is you now have a relic that can give attack boost to the entire team if you have a fire commander deck, but the problem is you don't get the benefit of the power gem creation, which this card gives you. So this card doesn't actually create power gems, so I take that back. This card will give you a 10% decrease in damage. And so I guess in this respect, it's actually not too bad. But for me personally, I run a team that uses that's a technological team. So I actually do require all of my tech relics. So I personally wouldn't be reforging it. But I guess if you had one and you don't use it normally for your technological heroes, I actually don't think that it's that bad of that bad of an idea to reforge, because you just you can get a pretty good output there. It's just that it does require a tome of reforge. So again, going back to the scarcity of this, like how difficult it is to earn this, I would just say that probably wait. I would probably wait to reforge. I wouldn't just jump right into that. So that's my recommendation right there. And so let's see. So we got people saying good night. So have a good night, Xiaolian. And let's see. What else am I missing there? So yes. There is a question before, and I guess we're 35 minutes in. I think we've talked mostly about the event here. What are before I go into that and answer some of the questions? I guess what I'm going to be doing for sure is I will definitely be using the sort of the cards from the previous Commander event, and so this was before they changed the way that you can collect the runes, because this was when runes were much more abundant. And so I will be using this deck for sure. I was able to, I saved up all of my runes, so I was able to get two of these cards. And really, because Ra is going to be in the starter deck, this is the team that you should be considering to use, right? So if you can get one or two copies of these cards, this right here, and I guess I'm just gonna throw in something else in the middle there, is going to really help you get the overkill for legend solo bosses at least. I don't think you're gonna be able to get the 500% overkill against the ultra kill boss with this particular setup, but hey, I think that it's this type, like this card, Ra and Thoth and Abarca, Satyr, Hell, and Soul Reaper. These are all great cards because they don't have a very high intensity requirement, and it gives you a lot of boost to your power, and they act as really great sort of support for your overall deck. And so this is just something that I think that as a starter pack that's coming in on Saturday, I think this would be a really good choice to go for. It will be 3,000 gems if you wanted to get the ultra rare as well. The ultra rare card for that card though is not something that I use a ton, to be honest with you. So it's Cobra King Apophis. This basically will generate the power gen force that's needed to power up Ra and Thoth. But honestly, like the Master Collection card heroes, and we have a lot of other cards that create power gen force now. So I think if you don't want to spend that 1,500 gems, you don't have to. It's just that you will get a second copy of Ra with that, which I think wouldn't be too bad. Or does it? I can't remember if it does. But in any case, the ultra rare card I'm just answering right now is not really necessary. So definitely the second tier is where you want to go up to. All right, so this is where we're at with the event, and this also is going to be the last sort of the last event before the new cycle of the 3.0 begins. And so Spicer, is there any special anything special planned for the closing out of the second cycle of Generation 3.0? Like since 3.0 came out, this is the second cycle, and so we're gonna go into third. Is there anything that you might give us a teaser or anything like that? Anything that's in the works?
No comment. Again, to reiterate, I do not work for the game team. So anything I say does not represent the game, Legendary Game of Heroes, in any way, shape, or form. These are my personal opinions, but also no comment.
I was hoping to see maybe some fun videos or something, but I guess we can just be surprised there. So again, for the people that might be joining us in the stream here, so I've got Spicer here. He is one of the content providers for the network team. They work in the LA office. I actually got to visit them back in Thanksgiving time frame. Really good people, and as he said, they're different than the people that developed the game. They do talk about the game. They
We're also good people. I want to make that.
You are good people. I definitely.
No, I'm saying that the San Francisco people are also good people.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes, I'm bleed Dodger blue, but also the Giants are okay, I guess.
Yes. Oh, hey. So yeah, they're both. I haven't got a chance to meet the development team over in San Francisco, but I will say that their videos, they usually come out with there's legendary daily right now, and there's also some other videos that they come out with to provide more info, and also they use. So actually, this is interesting. So you guys currently use Medium for your articles, is that correct? Is that something that started before even the app was available, or was this just something that you decided was a good way to share articles and whatnot?
Yeah, for longer form articles, they're on a Medium account. They're all linked through the network app, which you can download for free through the App Store or Google Play, blah, 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 blah. But for longer articles type things, we found that While a lot of the stuff we like dynamic slides in the app, so it's kind of very visual because so much of Legendary is, in my opinion, the incredible art and the animations and stuff. So we wanted a way to highlight that. But also we understand that, players just sometimes want the data, like give me the raw information, like the relic guide or is an article now a lot of times, and it's kind of a great way that we found to make it easy for players to get the information and kind of give our opinion on something, and we want to make it easy and painless and highlight the things that are cool. So sometimes the slides are a good way to do that within the app, because you get to see each character's card and card back, and then kind of a discussion about it, versus an article. We can just lay it out and have a little more lengthy, direct conversation with people. And so for the time being, Medium is kind of the best vehicle for that, but it's all linked from the app as well. You can find all the stories there.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy reading them as well. So thanks a lot for that. Now, there was a question. So the first question was whether or not the God Fire Commander deck is good to use. Definitely, you want to include the raw cards for sure. And if you're Thoth, that's a better choice. And then the second question was, what do I think about the previous Ultimate form? So I have this right now. This is Primeval Torchbearer. So I really liked the previous event deck, although one of the challenges I feel is that this current event deck, as well as the previous one, they all have this dependency on each other. So, the current event deck, the Master Collection card generates the polarity, which then the ultra rare and the support card use. The previous event, the support card had the smoldering status, which then the Master Collection card uses. But the Ultimate form really sort of addresses that. So the battle skill here, basically, it does the best of the two worlds. It will actually start with the Power Gem 2s, and it will then create a total of 7 Power Gems, 4 Power Gem 4s, and 3 Power Gem 2s. And then it's going to apply Smoldering for itself, and then double the total number of Power Gems. So you're going to get total of 8 Power Gem 4s and 3 Power Gem 2s, all on its own. All you have to do is activate it once, and then 4 turns later you're going to be able to get a bunch of Power Gems there. So the ultimate form in this case is pretty good. And compared to this one, I think it's definitely a very good one. So if you're asking whether it's worth reforging, I would say yes, because it then it frees up one of your card slots that you would need to use in order to really maximize the benefit of your Master Collection card, which is always a good thing. So that's my take on that. So now what I want to do, we have we're about 40 minutes into it. One of the questions that came out in the very beginning was sort of my take on where things are as a player. What are some of the things I really feel like, where are we? What are some of the things that Legendary could really change? And so here are some of my thoughts. The first thing is, I guess, just the overall feel of, the rate of progression. So we already talked about this, right? So we already talked about the fact that dust is really hard to come by. And so I had to save up, and I've been playing for a very long time. What I will say is that Spire is a good way to get dust, because if you play through, there are actually quite a bit of levels that end up giving you 4, 5, 6 start cards, which then you can just go ahead and dust, for the dust. But in general, it's just hard for players, new and old. And it's, and then if you are looking to forge an ultimate form or something, then you can only purchase cards to dust for the Slayer dust and or the Commander dust. There's just so many things that are out here now, and it's so hard for people to get. And it feels like the only way to get them is through, purchases, which can be a real turnoff for a lot of people. And I think for me, I've always advocated for, give us ways to earn things through play, but there's certain things that you can't earn through play. And the second thing that I'm going to talk about is, sort of my feeling about like the rewards themselves. So when we, go through the event and we play through, we can take a look at the rewards here, for example. So the rewards here, I think these are okay. But then if you look at the event store, like it's just things that we are asking for is, an update to the event store. Make sure that we can get like the sort of the appropriate rewards for the efforts, given like, the amount of gems that we get at the end of the event. It doesn't even quite carry us forward unless you place high enough. So people who are lower tier, they continue to struggle because the inflation of the prices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's talk about power creep. Personally, I'm not as bothered by it, so I'll be honest there. I just kind of, I go with the flow. So I'm waiting to see what this is like. Even like changing the ultimate form from 13 to 15. I think a lot of people feel like it is a big deal. It definitely does seem to devalue the older cards. Again, they are changing the ultimate form and the master cards from before. So I'm waiting to see how it really is going to be impacted before I make a comment on that. But sort of, in general, I just think that I still want to sort of see the quality of life improvements here. And I think one of the things that they did, which I really appreciate, is the additional card slots. And there are definitely others which I'm, it's escaping my mind right now. So I know that there's more, but now that I'm talking through, I'm sure I'm missing some stuff. So if there's other things that you want to hear my opinions on, I could definitely provide that. Just give me a comment. Let me know. There are things that if there are things that you're specifically looking for from me, I can try and answer them. But generally, I think that the more we can make it free to play friendly, the better. And I know that there's also a big topic about guild versus guild. I suck at guild versus guild, to be honest with you, and I do what I can, but I haven't really put a lot of thought into it, and I'm nowhere near the top level players. And so I understand, I think, their concerns, but it's not something I can really speak to as well. But personally, it's all about making the game, just fun to play and not feel like the only way to play is to spend. I don't mind spend to play. I don't mind at all people who choose to spend to give themselves an advantage. Like, that's totally fine with me. I just want to make sure that if I'm playing and I'm choosing to play, that in order to enjoy myself, I can do this without having to spend. That's not the same as competing. Like, if I wanted to compete at the top of the leaderboard and I want to do this as a free-to-play player, I'll do this by spending more time. And I think I can still do that. But there are cases where it's a bottleneck that you can't get the cards, you can't evolve the cards, you can't, get what you need to, or you can, or certain things are behind a paywall. Those are the things that I think that we should re-examine and make them more available in easier ways. So that's sort of my take on it. So hopefully that answers your questions, about that. I did promise I was going to answer in the beginning, and so I'm spending the time now to answer that. And so let's take a look and see any comments about that. I see some there as well. So Colin William D, power creep and power gap are two different things. Yes, that is correct. So I know that... I think what I said was it didn't bother me as much, but I think, I'm not going to ignore the fact that when we changed the 3.0, pretty much all of our Generation 2 cards became useless because they can't deal enough damage. And I completely understand and recognize that. And that is something that has been around for a long time. They haven't fixed it, which I think the Reforged heroes are supposed to help with. So that was sort of the thing that I was going to talk about if they didn't go ahead with the Reforged options. But now that they have the Reforged options, I think this is a way for us to sort of, be able to get our older cards and make it powerful again. So like, for example, I was able to do with Lepora, so I'm pretty happy with that. And so we'll see how it goes. But again, I'm just going to have to wait and see there. And so we have questions about the Spire as well. I will reach out to you afterwards. So message me on the app. And there's also a Spires chat. I can't remember the exact name of the Spire chat, but in the network app, there is also chat there. And I think, a lot of people talk about various different things in the Dogen's Advocate channel as well. Have we had a chance to talk about your channel on the network chat, Spicer?
Yeah, that's probably the best way is there's a chat in the app, Dogen's Advocate, and we have fun. It's silly. We're certainly get silly in there, but also talking about what we want. Like, to me, the way I kind of pitch it, and we used to do more regular videos that were called Dogen's Advocate, and that's kind of what spun out that that chat. And for boring reasons, I think this week's Dogen's was an article, and for boring reasons, stuff that has nothing to do with anything here that anyone cares about, other than I'm trapped in a cage and oh my gosh, please come help me. The videos haven't been been happening as regularly. But to me, the way I frame like the Dogen's Advocate chat is like it's a place to advocate for things that we love about Legendary and things that we could make even things that we think could be made even more awesome. So it's like the idea of like, yeah. Like not everything about the game is exactly perfect, but I want it to have a positive outlook of like, here's what I want to make even better. Here's what I love. Here's what can be improved upon and how we can improve upon it. And then also let's talk about our favorite types of ice cream and, which dinosaur would reign supreme. Like, I like that kind of stuff.
All right.
Um, so it's the Dogen's Advocate chat in the app. That's probably the best way to find me. I'm in quite a few chats, but that's the one I'm most active in on the network app.
Personally, I really like those, non event specific, just like really lighthearted, topics like the ice cream one. I think that was a really good one. I really enjoyed it. And so Dogen's Advocate is the name of the chat, and also Heavenly Spire is the name of the channel if you are asking questions about the Spire as well. And while we're there, I just realized the thing I wanted to talk about is I should have realized this when I talk about it. We have these dragoons, and I guess this is the one thing that does bother me more. And as I am now starting to have a big collection of dragoons, and you can see they're all at 4 stars, except for the one that I was able to earn a 5 star, and Xenoscourge, which had a different catalyst to evolve to 6 stars. We need catalysts to get these to 6 stars at some point. Like I'm playing through the spires, and I am at the 4th tower right now, and I can't evolve any of them to 6 stars. I think I can evolve Seratial probably soon. Let's see. So I guess I have everything. Okay, so I didn't actually pay attention. So I can finally get one to 6 star. But guess what? After I evolve it to 6 star, I can't specialize because I have no more catalysts left. And so it's just really difficult to use these cards that were promised to, be sort of the answer to guild versus guild fights. And I'm looking forward to seeing them because these are really good concepts. And so for me, it's not about I think it's more about the ideas that were sound, but I just feel like they didn't quite give us, what we need to make the kind of progress that they had in mind. And I know that we have brought this up, and this is something that they said they wanted to fix. I just wish that I see a better timeline for when this will come out, because I think Dragoons, when they first came out, were a big deal, and now people are less and less excited about it. And to me, it's just taking up cart space, and I don't want that. Like, I don't want this to just be a cart filler. My 6-star Xenoscourge I use all the time, right? Because it is very useful. It's basically a not a replacement, but just a supplement to Soul Reaper. And some of the other cards, when they are at 6 stars, they are really good. And if you can specialize, that's even better. So it's about giving us I'm not saying that give us everything for free, and every single event I should be able to get a specialized Dragoon, but I think I don't know how long it's been, but I haven't evolved anything using the catalyst that's required there. So I think that it's also a little bit more on the extreme there. So that is something I wanted to bring up there as well. And so what are my thoughts about the 1.5 decks reborn in 3.0? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Do you mean the cards that I'm not going to assume? I'm not sure about that question. So if you could rephrase that, I'm going to hopefully be able to answer that better. Spoiler alert: Dragoons do nothing to solve GVG problems. Con William Deep. Yes, you're right. Simply because what's really needed in Guild vs. Guild is ability to do turn delays or be able to have immune to damage, given how hard the defenders hit. But I'm looking forward to seeing if there is going to be a way to balance it out. But like I said, I don't really spend a ton of my time playing Guild vs. Guild, so there is that aspect which I'm not as familiar with. But there are a lot of really passionate people that have a lot of really good conversations about it, so definitely pay attention to that. So Paxton, what are mage cards? So mage cards are a one-time deal. Do you remember the mage cards, Spicer? Did you play that event?
I feel like it's did you see Loch Ness Monster, right? Like do you let me see your mages. That's what Fenix were before Fenix came back with the roar. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course I remember mage cards. What are they? What do they do? I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
it's after 9 o'clock here. I don't know what it is. Ask me like at 10 in the morning after I've had coffee. I might know.
I gotcha. Yes, that's right. So to answer your question, mage cards were back when they tried to make PvP a full event. They called it Arena, and they had introduced a new card type, which is Mage, that had a different mechanic. Basically, you have to keep attacking to build up your magic penetration, so to speak, to break through the armor. Basically, it didn't really work out as an event, so as a result, those types got abandoned, so we don't see them anymore. And so that's why they're still in the game, but you're not going to see any new cards anymore for that.
The arena comes back next week. No, I'm just kidding.
Um,
I would love like, do I remember mages? Yeah, get them ready for next week. What was I not supposed to? No, I honestly don't know. I love the idea of the arena. I really do. I think if you go back and I think finding old stuff in the network app is harder than it needs to be sometimes. But if you go back and look at some of the stuff that we were talking about back then, man, there's really cool stuff there. I hope, and again, I don't know. Tomorrow it comes back tomorrow. I really like it. I really, really like it. And I know, I think it was in an inside scoop. I think it was Daniil that was talking about it, if my memory serves me correctly. Or maybe it was Alex Michalucci talking about it in the chat. But like they were reconsidering it as something between events. I think there's a lot of potential in that idea. And I'd love to see those mages have value again. So
right.
yeah, it's cool, man. It's cool. It's kind of like we're talking about with polarity in this event. It's like
something different.
Yeah, it's something different. It's cool.
Yeah, yeah. So Alpha Omelet, I believe, with the giant ultimate form, you're going to generate the 4 power gems. Smoldering's going to go off, and then you're going to double the power gems. That's what I think. But again, without using it, I can't say for sure. But I believe that's how it should work. And so also, just my personal take is kind of like with Spicer, like, new things are nice. It's fun to have new things. It's just that we need to pay attention to the pain points of the players. There's a reason why it was not liked by a lot of players. I mean, a lot of people liked it, but I think in general, there were just certain things that needed to be addressed. And that's probably the reason why they haven't brought it back, because they want to make sure, well, I hope that the reason is because they want to make sure that the event is delightful. We've had several, like in my time here, I played for over 2 years, maybe almost 3 now. They've tried multiple different types of events. And so, it's what sticks, and it's what, whatever we can continue to enjoy. And so, we're at basically, I just want to make sure that we don't go too long. So we're about 3 minutes away from being an hour. I'm gonna just make sure I take a look at some of the last comments here, and then we're probably gonna call it a night. And just wanted to give a heads up to everybody. I should have said this in the beginning of the stream, but for those of you who are still around, I'm gonna try something a little bit different this time. I think that I've heard comments and feedback that the deck building exercise that I do on Thursdays, while it's good for the people who are in the stream, it's really difficult for people to view afterwards and get the help that they need, which I totally understand. And so one thing I want to try and do is maybe push out the stream by a day, and perhaps, or I may not, I'll keep you up to date. I might keep it on Thursday and try to come out with a video on Wednesday for some of my ideas so that you can start with something. Or if that's too tight, I might end up doing that short video, maybe 5-6 minutes on Thursdays, and then have a stream either Friday evening or some other time that might work better for people. Let me know your thoughts. Give me feedback on what you think that's going to, whether that would be something that you think would work for you or not. So just let me know. I'm just kind of toying with ideas on how we can make this more useful for more people as well. And so, King Biggie, yes, you do keep your ultimate form. So the old UF, you don't. You do not keep them. Your old ones from the previous event, you will lose them because you need souls, and souls are a new concept at this point. And I think Con William Deep, if you mentioned, but the free tier. So Con William Deep, I think you might have joined after I mentioned this, but I think they're fixing it. So if you get the Master Collection card tier 6, I believe they're going to give you your soul back. So you will be able to get the ultimate form as well if you did purchase.
No, but to be clear, like Con, you're not getting your soul back. Like you sold that years ago. It's talking about the soul of the card, right? Like we've all sold our souls long before this event. and we're never going to get those
Right,
back.
so we won't talk about that. Unfortunately, Con, that's just how it is. So Joshua Davis, yeah. So my feeling is that there are some cards that were Generation 1 cards that got turned to Generation 3 for the better. One is Wukong, for example. Wukong is a card that is much better. Contessa, the Reforged Contessa, is an awesome card. A lot of people really like it. So there are definitely cards that are really good. I personally feel that reforging the support cards is a good idea, and maybe even the main card. I'm not so sure about reforging the support card, the ultra rare, because when you reforge the ultra rare, what we've seen so far is they're always worse off than they were. So I would like to sort of, see them balanced a little bit differently, not nerfed so much that people don't even want to do it. They should give it, enough of an incentive to say, oh, where, what's the trade-off between the two, between the ultra rare reforge or not. I think that's where the fun really comes down to, like where it's really in. Kung William D, 500 gems. That is not yet enough to get you to tier 2, unfortunately, my friend. You need to drive a better bargain. All right, so with that, I think we're at time here for the stream. I just wanted to thank everybody for joining, and thank you, Spicer, for taking the time, taking the precious time away from your ice cream, although you were able to eat while at the microphone. So
Yeah.
not too big of a loss. But again, thanks for agreeing to join me here. Hope you guys, had a good time here. I certainly did. And I'm going to try and, see if I can bring other people, into the chat here. I certainly like this format and, this relaxed sort of atmosphere. So thanks again. And, look forward to seeing more stuff from you, Spicer, in one way or another. And so hopefully people had a chance to engage with Spicer and get a chance to know him a little bit. Make sure you join his channel if you wanted to reach out to him and, stay in touch. And also, if you have any questions, reach out to me on the network app. I go by my in-game name is T-Bone, so you can reach out for any questions there. All right. So thank you, everybody, for your time, and I will see you next time. Take care.